Good afternoon, Chairman Wells and members of the Judiciary and Safety Committee. My name is Kevin Byrne. I'm a Deputy Fire Chief, Certified Public Manager, and President of the COA, the Chief Officers Association, DC Fire and EMS. We represent the highest ranking officers in the department, battalion fire chiefs and deputy fire chiefs. Give me some water. We appreciate the opportunity to testify in today's hearing. I have 2 points to make. One, the chief officers seek your help in securing a pay raise given to non-unionized employees in the district in April 2013. Thank you. On April 18, the chief officers received an email from Mayor Vincent Gray announcing a 3% pay raise effective that month. This announcement was reaffirmed in an email June 13th from Director Sean Stokes, Director of DCHR, explaining it would be retroactive to April 7th, and the City Council approved this measure. To date, the chiefs of the Fire and EMS Department have not received a 3% pay raise. At least one member received a pay cut with no explanation. This was brought to the attention of Chief Kenneth Ellerbe, and he stated it's between the officers and DCHR. So this association is seeking the help of this committee in introducing a resolution that would link chief officers' pay raises to those received by the unionized members in order to maintain proportionate pay scale that neither discourages nor diminishes the rank structure. My second point is, we'd like to comment on last week's hearing that was prompted in part by the Mills case, the event on Rhode Island Avenue Northeast, across McWhorter's Vision 26. Some points of insight have never been presented to this committee. The culture of the department has changed dramatically under this administration, and not for the better. Let me present a timeline starting with Kenneth Ellerbe becoming fire chief up to Rhode Island Avenue. On December 2010, Kenneth Ellerbe was sworn in as Chief of Fire and EMS. The previous year, GEMS magazine, that's the Journal for EMS, a trade publication, had put DC Fire and EMS on the cover with the headline, "From Worst to First." It was an article on how the department was overhauling and solving the problems with the ambulance service. However, at his very first staff meeting, Chief Ellerbe informed us that his problem was the senior staff. He gave us the name of a lawyer in case anybody else had a problem, and he was serious. He put us on notice. It was a very intimidating and threatening remark, and it set the tone that is part of the Chief Ellerbe culture, the culture of intimidation and punishment. His first official act was to demote all assistant fire chiefs, one exception, and have charges brought against uniformed senior staff officials. This was unprecedented. In addition to demoting the operations chief, he put him on charges. In addition to demoting the policy and planning chief, he was put on charges. Charges were brought against division heads. So in other words, the new chief executive officer went to war against the senior staff. This was unprecedented too. And the tone of the department's special orders memoranda also changed. Now they have 20 examples here, and it's all more or less ending with members do not comply, will face discipline, members must adhere, they will face discipline, they will be held accountable, etc. The number of discipline cases rose, and the impetus for initiating charges gradually shifted away from direct supervisors going up the chain of command and being ordered from officials higher up coming down the chain of command. The number of cases, discipline cases, in 2012 exceeded 2011 by 43. And the number of cases in 2013 that I have on this pie chart was greater than the previous 2 years combined. And this is not driven by direct supervisors. And the punishments are severe. 10 officers under Chief Ellerbe have been demoted. When I say officers, I'm talking about Lieutenant Captain Chief. And that's an unprecedented number in any administration since Home Rule. In one case, I'll give you one example, an engine company was temporarily out of service with 2 men on board, and they overheard a radio report of a nearby house on fire back behind Smithers Elementary School. Now, the 4 nearest firehouses were empty. It was a busy day, and they had to dispatch units as far away as Chinatown. Now, the officer responded and successfully extinguished the fire and saved the house before the dispatch units arrived on the scene, but for not following protocol, he was demoted. And if the hearing officer for these cases does not measure up to Chief Ellerbe's expectations, he gets demoted. Do not cross Chief Ellerbe. On November 26, 2012, it was Monday, we had a meeting right here in this building with Deputy Mayor for Public Safety, Paul Quander. And the fire chief informed us on that day, if anyone crosses me, I will hunt that dog down, I'll kill that dog. Now contemplate that, the tone. This is the Ellerbe culture of intimidation and punishment. And another cultural shift. In my 36 years on the force, I've been mandatorily held over on duty at eight, maybe 10 times. It happens every couple of 2 or 3 years. It happens when you have some unforeseen catastrophic event like that sudden foot of snow or the Pentagon or the Fragrance fire. But since Chief Ellerbe has been fire chief, we have held members over involuntarily in excess of 20,000 man-hours per year. It's the new normal, and he has tasked us, the chiefs, to operate in this constant state of crisis. And if for any reason a member asserts he can't work mandatory overtime, he's reminded he's a sworn officer of the city. And if he leaves his post for any reason other than being properly relieved, he'll be put on charges. And that is reasonable. It's especially reasonable when it occurs maybe 8 times in 30 years. But what happens when it occurs all the time? What happens if you're a single mother and go to school? I'll tell you what happens. A firefighter paramedic was informed she could not go home after her shift. Now, by virtue of being a paramedic, she'd become indispensable and was ordered to remain on duty. However, she had family issues. She was forced by circumstances to go to her children, knowing she'd be put on charges. And she was charged, and Chief Ellerbe issued her a reprimand. And a few tours later, it happened again. And she was ordered to work overtime and couldn't. She's placed on charges, and this time, Chief Ellerbe suspended her. And it happened again. And he suspended her again. This paramedic has put in her resignation. Since 2011, over 60 paramedics have left the department. Now think about that. Why would 60 paramedics leave our employment? If you can't hire them, that's one thing. But when you have them and you can't hold on to them, that's something else. And these are personnel. You know, we've had 9 assistant fire chiefs in 3 years. And when the fire chief, the CEO, can't do something as simple as securing an approved pay raise for his chief officers after nearly a year, should we have any confidence in his ability to do anything more complex like budget fire apparatus or maintain adequate staffing? No, we do not have that confidence. And this latest incident, the unfortunate Mr. Mills, God rest his soul, his situation was brought to the attention of a young cadet. And the cadet's experience thus far in the department is the Ellerbe culture. He will be held accountable for any mistaken action. He shall be disciplined for any mistaken action. He's not going to do anything he is not told to do. So what does he do? He brings the matter to the attention of the officer in charge. And what she knows is the last officer to do something on his own volition, like putting out a fire and saving the house without being directed to do so, got demoted. What do you think she's going to do? Now, I want to make it clear that we are not dismissing and we are not apologizing for other factors, for apathy, for poor judgment or whatever, but we do want to point out that the Ellerbe culture is a significant element to be reckoned. This is the gentleman who wins the staff meetings with the admonition, when I leave this agency, I'm taking a lot of folks with me and there will be terminations. Last staff meeting I went to, the chief informed us, quote, if Quander has me step down, I'm telling him, give me 15 minutes because you're coming with me. Now, that same magazine, Journal 3MS, published the online article this past year, the one that said we went from worst to first a couple of years ago. This time we had one with Deputy Mayor Quander and Chief Ellerbe on the banner, saying, we've gone back to worst. Mr. Chairman, we work in an administration that in a year when no new apparatus is budgeted due to the chief's oversight, his admission, and 2 units catch fire due to mechanical malfunctions, the administration is quick to suspect workforce sabotage. And then the investigation report showed the administration was wrong in that suspicion. And in the same year, when the Center for Disease Control called the worst flu epidemic in a decade, an employee is called in sick on the very day that the DC DOH website said was the peak of that epidemic, the administration was quick to suspect a job action. And then the investigation report showed the administration was wrong on that too. And now, following the event on Rhode Island Avenue, the Mills case, the deputy mayor suspects the union should be fragmented, although no rational explanation for that thought has been offered, and Chief Ellerbe did not dispute it. Under questioning from this committee, it was apparent the deputy mayor was not aware of the distinction between certain ranks and what their authority or lack of authority was. It was just another instance of this continuous war on the workforce. The report was notable for omitting any reference to Chief Ellerbe, and you can hope that if the Navy Yard report ever comes out, it too will omit any reference to Chief Ellerbe's actions. Now, last Thursday, Mayor Gray said he was pleased with the direction the department's going. Well, the surest indication of future performance is past performance. We've had 3 years of this administration. The chief officers feel that for public safety, there ought to be a change in direction. This concludes the testimony of the Chief Officer Association. We thank you for your time.